Welcome to the Geekcentric Podcast. Today we're talking about Futurama's return, but without one specific character. Seth Rogen and Jimmy Kimmel have some thoughts about the Academy Awards. Plus, we got a bunch of trailers to talk about from this past week. All this and everything else that happened this week in Geek.
Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace.
Hello, I'm J-Law, but you can call me Justin. And if you're joining us for the first time, well, we are Geekcentric, a podcast covering the world of movies, TV shows, toys, collectibles, gaming, and all things geek-centric. Joining me for this super-sized Super Bowl episode, they're the offensive linemen of my team, Kevin Hudson and Nate Shelton. How are you, boys?
Are you saying we're offensive? Wait, defense?
Well, I don't really know football terms, but offensive line I thought was like kind of like the protectors, or is that defensive? Would that be
Kevin,
defensive?
The defensive line, yeah. Well, it depends.
Okay, see,
they both they're all just a bunch of big overweight dudes who throw their bodies around. So
you nailed it.
Well,
you nailed it. That's exactly what we are.
Well, see, I don't know much about football, but like, you know, out of the three of us, Kev, you actually probably watched the game. What did you think?
they were the two least interesting teams, I thought, coming out of the second last week, and so. You know, once Tom Brady got eliminated, and then once the Bills in heartbreaking fashion got eliminated, I didn't really have a team that I was rooting for. But the team I went for, the Rams, they won, and it was a pretty exciting game regardless. So, yeah.
Oh, so you put the money on the right pony then there.
I'm 2 years in a row I've done well guessing the winner.
Justin, it's a goats. I think Rams are goats, not ponies.
Oh,
you don't
right,
even know
that's
animals,
true.
dude. You don't know sports. You don't know animals. Come on.
Come on. Well, you know what I do know is that it had a wicked halftime show.
Yes.
I absolutely enjoyed the halftime show. It just felt like a trip down memory lane. Even today, I was listening to, classic Dre and Snoop. 50 Cent looked like he was having some problems.
He was having some trouble. He was having some trouble hanging upside down. You see all the blood rushing to his head.
Looked a bit more like $150, if you ask me.
No, for sure. He's getting, obviously all of them are a little bit on the older side, but I thought it was just so... I think my favorite thing about the performance, there was some stuff I didn't like about the entire halftime show. I think, if you were in the stands, you didn't really get to enjoy it that much unless you were looking up at the big screen, seeing what everyone on TV was seeing. And I get that. Like, it would be really tough for them to make something that would be enjoyable by both parties just as much. But I got to say, the idea to sort of put a lot of the performances inside of those boxes did feel a little bit weird. I didn't quite understand some of the reasoning behind that.
I thought it was cool. It was like an old school 90s house party.
Is that what they were going for?
Yeah,
okay.
I liked how it was like different spaces. I enjoyed what they were trying to do and like how he was at the top in like a DJ booth. I thought they did some things right. Hey, Kev, were you dancing when Eminem showed up? Because I remember those days when you used to dance
along,
to Eminem.
Man. Absolutely.
Dude, I do want to just shout out though, like I think there's a really cool moment, and you can see it in all of these performers' faces when they're standing right at the end, and they all just sort of cross their arms and stand there, and you can just see in their faces that like no matter how incredible of a performer they are, no matter what their status is, no matter like how big they've ever gotten, they're performing at the Super Bowl, and you can tell just how proud they are and how like excited and happy they are to be doing this performance. Like it's super cool to see that like no matter how sort of big you get, it's still such an achievement.
This is still the biggest performance of your career, in front of the most people you'll ever perform in front of. It's definitely a huge moment, even when you look at some of these people as being the biggest names of the last 30 plus years in music.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, apart from that lovely halftime show, we got a lot of visual content, and most of it we'll be saving towards the end of the show with all the trailers. But there were some commercial spots that I thought were actually pretty good, some that totally missed the mark. I'm going to call it out right now. I think Lay's with Seth Rogen and Paul Rudd was probably one of my favorites of the ads, just because of their character dynamic, and it's just them spinning at the end of that ad in that stance is awesome.
There was so much cryptocurrency going on, and I am no better informed on what it does and how it works, even after there were about 9 or 10 commercials for it.
Oh, see, I stayed away from all those. I was very selective with my choices of what it is that I dived into, and just look at like the top list. And I gotta say, like, for me, because we brought up the idea of like movies and movie characters a couple weeks ago, I think, doing cross promotion with different companies and things like that. And I gotta say, man, for me, it was all about General Motors and Verizon, just bringing characters back from, you know, when I was a little bit younger, like Dr. Evil and his son Scott and his grandson Baby Me. I thought it was so good, and it's just crazy how that character can still be relevant in 2022. And Jim Carrey coming back as Chip Douglas, the cable guy. I just thought it was super impressive because like they can sort of just step right back into these roles, and like it's like they were just doing them yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's really, really cool, and it makes me want another Cable Guy movie, like, right now, where he has to deal with, like, a world that's moved on from cable, and he has to, like, deal with that mentally. Like, I think that would be so cool. It was so good.
Shout out to Disney for making me like Aquafina for once. I liked the goat ads, so that was good.
Yeah, I did. Justin and I were talking about this offline, right? And
I thought it was a bit odd.
Yeah, some like older person who's not really into the lingo of goats, of saying the goat, was like, at the marketing team was just kind of like, well, kids say goats all the time, so let's actually put goats in there. I don't know. It just feels a little
reminds
outdated.
me of a little audio clip I saw recently of Jonah Hill saying how he was calling Meryl Streep the goat when they were working together, and she thought he was literally calling her a goat, and apparently wasn't offended by that at all.
It's so funny, so good. And then the only other one I wanted to call out that like didn't really have anything to do with like movies or anything, but the Uber Eats ad with Jennifer Coolidge, Trevor Noah, and it's just a bunch of people that, because it says Eats on the bag, they eat everything, and it's just like, some of these commercials, I'm like, are they just saying Americans are like really stupid? Like, really? Like, is that what they're trying to say? Because and like at one point we see Gwyneth Paltrow eating her own vagina candle
and like, seeming to enjoy it.
Like it, yeah. She's like, that tastes funny, not bad, but fun. Like, it was what a commercial. But I mean, I love Jennifer Coolidge. I'll watch her do anything. So that was another good.
Yeah, that was an odd one. The other one was the Bud Light one with
Guy Fieri.
Guy Fieri. I was like, what is this? This is just weird.
He was like God, and everyone was made in his image.
I did the God of Flavor Town. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Speaking of gods, though, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Zeus. Yes. And Selma Hayek as what was his wife's name? Kev, our Greek mythologist.
Hera.
There you go. So
yeah, but yeah, they have a little Pegasus named Peggy.
The Pegasus was really cute. I liked it.
Best.
It's funny how these commercials kind of do serve as like trailers to a movie that doesn't exist.
That'll never exist,
and that will never exist. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
But with that, you know what? I think we should get into the news because we got a lot of those trailers that we are saving for the end of this episode. So let's move right into the news.
It's all about the details.
So just before we get into our first news story, I did want to just take a minute here and acknowledge the loss of Canadian filmmaker Ivan Reitman, who passed away at the age of 75. Best known for films like Ghostbusters, Kindergarten Cop, Junior, Twins, as well as a bunch of others. Those are just some of my favorites. Ivan is remembered by his family, including his son, Jason Reitman, who brought us Ghostbusters Afterlife this past year. I got to say, it's got to be hard for him, especially after finishing that film. It's just going to add another layer of meaning to the film for himself. So I'm happy that they got to tell that story, but nonetheless, a loss in Hollywood.
Big time. And it's crazy, that he passed away over the Super Bowl weekend. And the last movie he directed was Draft Day, starring Kevin Costner. A far better movie than something about a draft day had any right to be. I really enjoyed that as a different take on a sports movie.
It was actually thrilling to see these trades happen and to know all the conversations that were going on. So he did a really good job.
It was really slick. Like
tension.
It felt like it was done by a much younger director.
Yeah, I was actually surprised at how interesting he made that whole topic feel. I agree with you there. And he's had a couple things that I think are more heartfelt and maybe missed the mark in other aspects. But, again, like it's crazy to hear all the outpour of colleagues who have been, tweeting memories and and talking about his influence on comedy and filmmaking and how, he won't be forgotten because his movies have brought in so much laughter and heart to Hollywood. And he also helped shape the landscape of like stand-up comedians finding their way into film and being able to tell those stories. So he has such a long, like, lasting impression on this industry.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that impression, I think that's kind of the biggest thing. Like we won't ever get specifically an Ivan Reitman film again, but
Absolutely.
we're going to get Ivan Reitman-like films.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to get films that are inspired by Ivan Reitman, and we can almost look at it as a film style that he's crafted and created out of all of his movies. And I think going forward, that's, obviously that's such a legacy to leave. And obviously our thoughts and feelings go out to the entire Reitman family, just kind of going through this. But yeah, man, dope movies.
Yeah, for sure. All right. With that, let's move into our first news story here. This one comes from IGN by Kat Bailey. Futurama. Voice actors support John DiMaggio as #Bendergate trends on social media. This past week, news that Futurama is being revived again on Hulu was met with joy. However, that joy quickly turned to frustration when it became clear that a major cast member hadn't yet signed on, and that is John DiMaggio, the voice of Bender. Since then, DiMaggio's absence has sparked a major backlash under the #Bendergate. Fans contended that the series won't be the same without DiMaggio's Bender, who delivered many of the show's memorable lines. DiMaggio himself is leaning into the backlash as well. The actor has spent much of the time sharing articles about fans threatening a boycott and retweeting accusations that Hulu is lowballing Bender. And with that, there has been a lot of conversation around this being rooted in a contract hesitation. DiMaggio was offered a contract, the same contract that was shared to Katie Sagal and Billy West. And DiMaggio's team reportedly considered this a lowball, made a counter proposal, and then discussions went cold. That was in November. And the studio has been reluctant to feel like they owe any more due to the fact that West and Seagal have both taken this contract. So a search for a replacement is said to be ongoing while the original offer remains on the table. Futurama is currently set to return on Hulu sometime in 2023. And while a return for DiMaggio's hasn't been fully ruled out, it's far from certain. But if DiMaggio is unable to reach an agreement with Futurama showrunners, at least some voice actors are urging their compatriots not to take the role. And I think that's the important thing, is that the community of voice actors have come aboard here to really say, don't do it, right? Like this is devaluing. So what do you guys think?
The world of voice acting and voiceovers is so tightly knit, because it is a really sort of smaller industry within the industry. And I gotta say, like, I've met John DiMaggio a couple times in Toronto, gotten a chance to meet him, mostly based off of panels that he's done for Adventure Time, as Jake the dog. And he is the sweetest, kindest human being that I've gotten to meet from the voice acting world. And it's not something you would expect from a character like Bender necessarily. But I feel like a lot of the times people will read this news, they'll see this news and be like, what the heck? He's probably so rich. He's probably got so much money. Why does he need more money? I don't think that's necessarily fair to sort of take that position. I think he's been an established character for so long that I don't know. It to me, it just sounds like, especially the people that are offering the money, they probably, I think they have the ability to do a little bit more. And honestly, if you think, I don't know, for me, when I think of Futurama, the first character that does pop into my head is Bender. So I don't know, again, I'm sure there's a lot of other fans of all the other casts, but for me, I don't know if I would enjoy it as much without him. Futurama is, I personally think Futurama is as big as The Simpsons, in my mind. And I feel like they have the opportunity to really make a big return here, and I think it's worth it. I don't know. I think it would be worth it for them to look into that.
I don't know. I'm not sure if you can put Futurama on the level of The Simpsons, just in terms of being a globally recognized brand to the extent that The Simpsons is, with its own world at Universal Studios, and all the merchandising. I think the merchandising for The Simpsons is a far greater enterprise than anything for Futurama. That said, John DiMaggio and the character of Bender are sort of that central fixture of the show. He's arguably the most popular character to have come from that. And so I can't see them doing this without him at all. I mean, I am kind of in the camp, though, that voice actors have one of the easiest jobs in the world. I mean, nowadays especially, they just go down into their own little basement recording studio in their own house and fire off lines for 20 minutes and get a big fat check in the mail for it, So, but I do think that you need to they need to find a common ground so that the actors are all paid what they deserve for their contributions. And I don't think you can do it without them personally.
I've seen enough. I've never personally voice acted. I've done voice over, and I've seen enough of what it takes to do that from a standpoint of not getting a chance to necessarily work right in front of another actor. And having spoken to other people who have done voice acting, like we've had Monroe Chambers, Canadian actor, on the podcast before, who's done voice acting in video games, and he talks about how it's almost more difficult at times to take on the ability to sort of act without someone in front of you and not being in that environment. So I don't know if I don't fully agree with the aspect of it is easier. I get the convenience of being able to do that from home, but yeah, man, I don't know. I just think Bender's a fixture. I'm on Team Bender for this. I just, you know what, give them the money. It's at this point, he's the Iron Man. He's the Iron Man of Futurama, literally, and I think he should get what he deserves.
I agree. I think that again, like you said, when people think of Futurama, he is the character that comes to mind before Fry and Leela, right? So he's established for that character because a lot of people are going to tune in to watch that. And right off the bat, not having him, you're already creating a negative approach around the show. Especially, I just think it's a slimeball move to kind of try to go and recast, because again, they're just pointing out the strength of the voice acting community. Where
nobody's going to want to touch it. Yeah,
exactly.
Because then you're the person that took over Bender's voice, and you don't. That's not something you want.
Exactly, that's not something you want on your resume. Right?
Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to see how it turns out. I think he's already started tweeted like a bunch of times and just saying, listen, be patient. Like I don't think the book is closed. I don't think the book is closed on this discussion. So we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's move into our next news story. And this next one is actually sort of attached to last week's official list of nominees for the 94th Annual Academy Awards. Now, while we'll be reserving our discussion about the nominations and the movies in a later episode, but I did find this article that does really kind of call into question, does the Academy Awards really have a purpose anymore? Film's biggest night, more like an industry insiders only event. So says Seth Rogen in a recent interview. The Pam and Tommy star told insiders that the emphasis on the Academy Awards viewership is baffling. During an interview with Paul Rudd to promote their Super Bowl commercial for Lay's potato chips, Rogen stated, "I don't get why movie people care so much if other people care what awards we give ourselves. To me, maybe people just don't care." Rogen continued by saying, "I don't care who wins the automobile awards. No other industry expects everyone to care about what awards they shower upon themselves. Maybe people just don't care. Maybe they did for a while, then stopped caring, and why should they?" The 2021 Oscars marked an all-time low in viewership, losing half of its 2020 Oscar audience, after the Academy attempted to pivot amid the pandemic with once again going hostless, shortening the show runtime, and getting rid of original song performances. Less than 10 million people tuned in last year. The 94th Academy Awards, taking place on Sunday, March 27th, is expected to have a host, apparently 3 hosts. We'll see. And this will be the first time since 2018 with Jimmy Kimmel, when he held the show. But speaking of Jimmy, here's the part 2 of this story. He recently spoke out about the misstep of the Academy not nominating Spider-Man No Way Home for Best Picture to reflect the film's historic, record-breaking fandom. He's quoted for saying, "The biggest snub, in my opinion, and I'm actually even angry about this, I'm embarrassed to say, is the unforgivable omission of Spider-Man No Way Home." Why do Best Picture nominees have to be serious? When did that become a prerequisite for getting nominated for an Academy Award? Kimmel slammed Adam McKay's film Don't Look Up for landing Oscar noms and added, "You want to know what happened? Voters looked at the list and saw the names Leonardo DiCaprio and Meryl Streep, and they checked the box for Don't Look Up. And then they put their kids in the car and went to see the Spider-Man movie, and they loved it. But they didn't vote for it." So I guess my question to you guys is, do you think that either Rogen or Kimmel are right? Do people care about the Oscars anymore? And if they do, should the Academy change the way that they look at films?
I certainly agree more with Kimmel than I do with Rogen. Rogen almost comes off a bit sounding like somebody who's never been nominated for an Oscar before.
He's a sore loser.
I mean, these are important. We remember Oscar winners for years and years and years, and it's such an important, almost marketing strategy that these movies are then able to use for years, saying nominated, starring Academy Award nominated actors. I mean, it is a bit of a pat on their own back, I suppose, but I mean, I've always taken a great interest in the Academy Awards, and I think Kimmel is closer to sort of nailing what the real issue is. And there's just too many movies that the regular audience member isn't going to see or have even heard of.
Hollywood as an industry and movies as an industry is way bigger than the automobile industry. The automobile industry is massive, but from a perception of the public eye, I do think obviously movies are much more prevalent. But that being said, I know people that don't necessarily work or have never worked in the automobile industry that do care if a certain car wins a certain award. You know what I mean? Like, I've got friends who are huge fans of Tesla, and they're talking to me about these awards and this thing happened. Like, I don't think that's necessarily the best way to look at it. I kind of just feel like it's like you said, Kevin. When I see Oscars, when I see somebody's won an Oscar or somebody's been nominated, it is something that I do take as, you know what, that means they gave a really good performance. And whether you agree or not, but it kind of adds that a little bit of discourse for people to be able to bring that up in conversation and get more fans of film. And at the end of the day, I think fans of movies in general enjoy the Oscars. He's
not wrong in saying that it has become far more niche. Right? Like the category of people that are watching this is far more niche. And people are really going to actually experience the Oscars through highlights and tweets, and rather than sitting and actually watching the 3-hour show. There is a niche of people that will sit and watch the Oscars because it is a tradition. It is a Hollywood tradition. It's been around for 94 years. And, it has helped build the industry, and it is what filmmakers and actors and aspire to want to win. So it matters.
I think then, you know what? Then take the approach of the Video Game Awards. I'm not sure if you guys have sat and watched the Video Game Awards, but the Video Game Awards very specifically makes an event out of the situation. They give the awards. Now, granted, there's some aspects about how they give some awards where they just sort of say, okay, check our tweets for these award winners. But at the same time, it is still a really long show, but it's mixed in with new trailers for things. We've got the Super Bowl that's coming up that I'm sure there's some people that do care a little bit about football that watched it more for the trailers than for the football. And so maybe that's a way they could implement and move away from that niche audience of saying, let's bring in some big trailers to debut during the Oscars, and we can just celebrate movies in general, no matter whether you're a fan of Marvel or whether you're a fan of A24.
Sure. And I think on that's kind of where I side with Jimmy. I think the Oscars do need to change their approach to recognizing all sides of the film industry. I do think that, Seth isn't wrong to say that, no industry really does celebrate itself as well as Hollywood does.
Right.
It is a tradition. It's just about adapting and changing, and I think that they're still figuring it out. So
it does seem like the Oscars in general, they don't change until they're forced to. They don't change until they've said something wrong or a pandemic comes around and makes them change. So it will be really interesting to see, I guess, if these numbers keep going down and down and down every year, if they will hopefully adapt and change. I hope.
For sure. Awesome. Okay, well, guys, 2 primer news stories.
That's
How you feeling? That's it. It was like a little tease. I thought there were some fun news stories. We got so much other stuff. Let's get right into what we're all here for.
It's trailer time.
A few of these trailers actually did drop earlier last week, ahead of Super Bowl. I think that we kind of appreciate that because we got a little bit more time to spend with some of these trailers over the last week. And with that, we're going to start with some of those drip feed trailers from earlier last week. Our first one, Jurassic World Dominion, starring Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Daniela Pineda, and returning cast, Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, and of course, B.D. Wong. Jurassic World Dominion is the third installment of the Jurassic World franchise. The film hits theaters June 10th, 2022. What did you guys think of our first real look? Because everyone's been wondering, because they've done some like side promo stuff. We talked about those Olympics things.
Yeah, which you could totally see. Like, we commented on those Olympics and cross promotions a couple weeks ago with the dinosaurs on the ice, and I was like, well, there's no way the dinosaurs are on the ice in the actual movie. But no, it looks like they might have used like some unfinished footage from this movie in those advertisements.
For sure.
I loved this trailer, actually. It got me really excited. The lines from John Hammond at the beginning, beautiful, really good placement of that audio. And then I feel like the trailer, though, it feels like what the first of this trilogy should have been. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the first Jurassic World and the second one was okay. But this is giving me sort of the reboot characters meeting the legacy characters feeling of The Force Awakens. And I'm really intrigued by that. I think having Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum back for more than just a scene, which is what we got with Jeff in the despite what the marketing felt like it was going to be. And I hope that's not the case with this movie. This trailer really does make it seem like these characters are going to be around throughout the entire movie. And I'm so stoked for that because I think it might actually give us the ability to say goodbye to these characters. Not because they're going to die or anything. I hope not. You never know with Jurassic Park. But I just feel like it's a good sort of send-off. One more adventure with them.
I don't know if they need to necessarily send them off, but yeah, I'm with you. I think well, like, again, they're in the world. This is why they're returning. And I appreciate the fact that they didn't, try to shove all of this into the first of three and have saved it for what is the last of the trilogy or the third installment. Again, like you said, I'm glad to see the original cast returning, and it does look like, as you're saying, that they have skin in the game. More than Dr. Malcolm ever had in the previous Jurassic World. To see him, Laura Dern, and Sam Neill with dinosaurs feels like the payoff the last film deserves, right? It feels like this is the payoff that we deserve from this 3-film installment of Jurassic World. So I'm very excited for this movie.
Yeah, and I think it was important to sort of allow Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard to develop their own characters and sort of shine on their own without the distraction of those legacy characters. And so now that they've had 2 movies to do that, now this whole coming together of everyone, in a way to sort of help right the wrongs of Jurassic Park 3, I think, where Alan was really poorly used in a pretty lousy movie. I think this will be that third legacy character movie that we never ended up getting way back in the early 2000s.
For sure. I would want to trade the word of sending off for redeeming. I hope this film redeems these characters in a way that really does not necessarily maybe close them out, but just allows them to just continue doing what they're doing in the world. And again, if they don't come back to the Jurassic franchise, that's totally fine, but they're off doing their thing.
I love that they're getting off the island. I love that it's all over the world, right? It looks like we're going to Italy at one point. Like, that's pretty dope. And I did think that the trailer, it was interesting. They're saying the conclusion to the Jurassic era. And we got some news, I think a little bit last week, that they are planning on doing more Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. I'm just wondering if they move to another period at this point. Do we get Cretaceous Park or Cretaceous world, or is it the Ice Age they're going to move into with all this snow in this trailer, right? Maybe
I mean, to be fair, they were already mixing dinosaurs from different from different periods. Yeah, it's not like the dinosaurs we've seen so far were from the Jurassic age.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm stoked.
Yeah, no, I think I read a comment. Someone referred to it as like Jurassic Park meets Mission Impossible, and I was like, that
Totally.
seems interesting.
Totally. On the bike, let's go.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go. All right, another trailer that dropped last week from Pixar, Lightyear, directed by Angus MacLean, starring Chris Evans, Taika Waititi, and Keke Palmer. No official synopsis, but it is the story of Buzz Lightyear and his adventures to infinity and beyond. This film is hitting theaters June 17th, 2022. I am stoked for this. The visuals, I thought I'd be sick of hearing Starman and like these space, sci-fi movies, but I don't know. With this visuals, I really enjoy it. So I don't know.
Dude, the whole movie could just be a music video with Starman in the background. I'd be down. But we actually got to hear Chris Evans' voice as Lightyear, and I think you can hear him trying to hit the sort of lower tones of the Tim Allen sort of original Buzz voice. And I think, you mentioned there's no description. I think so. Okay, if I'm going to give my theory on what I read into that trailer. The planet is trying to prevent them from leaving, right? So there's that little arm, that vine or whatever that comes out of the ground and grabs Buzz at the beginning of the trailer, and then does it again. And I think Buzz goes on a mission to try and like stop it or be able to get them off the planet, but he ends up traveling forward in time.
Yeah. Because
then you see the planet in the second half of the trailer, the planet that that plant that keeps bothering them it ends up winning in the end because the terrain is super green. Right, it's super like foresty, and I think it kind of starts off as sort of like a gag, but then becomes a really big problem throughout the movie. I think that's the most that I was able to get out of.
So you're saying it's about
trailer.
Global warming? Interesting. No,
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but I don't know.
I agree. I think that there's obviously something to those vines. That does look like it doesn't want them to leave the planet, right? I got the vibes too of time travel. I think that looks great. Like I'm just liking how the visuals seem very inspired by, contemporary and even some older, more vintage sci-fi aesthetics. You got 2001: A Space Odyssey. You get these Martian vibes. You get a little bit of Aliens with
a little bit of Interstellar in there as well.
Exactly. Like you're getting a mix of it all. And with that, on top of it, we got to see Zurg, but we got to see like two versions of him. It looks like there's like a big menacing robot version of him. And then there's a smaller version that was at a control desk that smashes.
I'm almost wondering if he's controlling the big robot or something.
Well, that's exactly what I was leading at. I think he's not inside of it, but it'll be interesting to see when they reveal who the voice actor is for Zurg. I'm excited to see that.
Seth Rogen. No. John DiMaggio. John DiMaggio is the voice actor. No, man. I don't know. Kevin, are you stoked about Lightyear?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the teaser trailer we got a month or two ago did a great job of sort of letting us know what to expect, and it definitely was a different looking movie than I was sort of anticipating with this one. And then so this trailer really just does a great job of expanding on that idea. And I think, I don't know if we needed any more Toy Story stories. So I'm so glad that they're taking a name that we're familiar with in a completely different direction.
I do think that, Pixar, whenever they skew to be a little bit more adult, though, it's kind of really cool. Like this one does seem like it's maybe a little less for kids. I mean, obviously it's bright colors and characters pew-pewing and stuff like that, and you've got Socks the Robo-Cat, which is going to be super cute. But like this one's giving me the vibes that I got from like WALL-E, right? Where WALL-E for a lot of kids was probably boring as heck, right? Because there's not that much dialogue and it's kind of slow, but it does hit for adults a little bit more, and I think that's what they're going for with this based off this trailer.
Yeah, I think that they know the audience that they're going for, and that is for the generation of people that did watch the movie as kids.
Yeah.
And because it's animated, it is incredibly kid-friendly for that generation's kids. So, we talk about confidence. We talk about movies knowing who their audience is and really going for it. And I feel like this film is very confident in knowing what it's doing. So, all right, on to the next trailer. This one from Netflix, The Adam Project, directed by Sean Levy, starring Ryan Reynolds, Mark Ruffalo, Jennifer Garner, Zoe Saldana, Catherine Keener, and Walker Scobell. Again, sorry if I mispronounced any of those. A time-traveling pilot teams up with his younger self and his late father to come to terms with his past while saving the future. Wow. Sounds like a poem of a synopsis, right? This is hitting Netflix March 11th, 2022. I'm very intrigued with this one. It looks like it could be like a Back to the Future style sort of mix, but I'm hoping it doesn't feel like Tomorrowland. Like just doesn't.
And Justin, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. I was like, this is giving me vibes of when Disney tries to go off the books a little bit, right? Like Tomorrowland or like Artemis Fowl, right?
Yeah.
It's giving me those kind of vibes, and half of me wants to love this because you've got Ryan Reynolds, Zoe Saldana, Jennifer Garner, Mark Ruffalo, and then I think this kid Walker Scobell, like even just from the little tidbits of quick comedic delivery that he's throwing out there, like. I was like, this was good casting for him. Like I thought they like did some sort of CGI to make him look and sound a little bit more like Ryan Reynolds, but no, it's just him. And I'm intrigued, but I'm definitely tempering my expectations on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I got some Frequency vibes from this trailer.
That's
if
a
you guys
good
remember
reference.
that movie.
Yeah.
But I do feel like they showed an awful lot in this trailer. It seems to give the whole movie away, and seeing. Ryan Reynolds and Mark Ruffalo together feels like something that could have been saved for the movie rather than revealing all of that.
It, right. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that it might have leaned a little bit on the heavy side of showing us a little too much, and I think that's kind of my apprehension with it. Now, Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds did Free Guy, right? So, that movie was tons of fun, and they have a great working relationship where I think most of the time Ryan Reynolds is operating as a producer and even maybe a writer.
But you mentioned it. We've got Ryan Reynolds working with the guy that they just did Free Guy with. That's all you needed to sell this movie, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could have just shown Ryan Reynolds for 2 minutes and it would have been enough to sell this idea.
Yeah, it's almost like I hope that the movie is better than the trailer. Right? Like the trailer, like again, we talk about trailers all the time and what
100%.
makes a good trailer and what makes a bad trailer. And I think a good trailer is something that gives you, I think Lightyear is a great trailer. It gives you a hint or an idea of what's possibly to expect, but doesn't give you the entire storyline. And we don't want to see that in the trailer. We want to see it in the movie. But yeah, man.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And speaking of trailers, well, we have more. Our next one is actually less of a trailer and more of a hype reel.
Yep.
DC, The World Needs Heroes. With Batman out in theaters in just a few short weeks, DC dropped this hype reel as a reminder to their fans of their upcoming projects for 2022. While the reel consisted of no new footage for the Batman or the Flash, we did get Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne in voiceover form and a couple clips of Aquaman, but this did give us our first and best look at Black Adam and the Justice Society members we'll be seeing in the movie. Apart from seeing The Rock in costume, we got to see Aldous Hodge's Hawkman, Pierce Brosnan's Dr. Fate, who looks absolutely badass, Noah Centino's Atom Smasher, and Quintessa Swindle's Cyclone. Black Adam hits theaters July 29th. So guys, focusing on the Black Adam portion, what did you guys think? It kind of looks good, right?
It looks good. I mean, specifically, I don't know if it will be any good, but I mean, DC is bound to have a good movie at least this year. I mean, which is crazy. It's about bloody time. They might have several movies. I think The Flash has a lot of potential. And I do think that the visuals we did finally get for Black Adam look pretty badass. I can see why The Rock is so excited about the project. So, yeah, I think this might be the year that DC finally turns the corner.
It's interesting, though, that they just kind of really shoved all this footage of Black Adam in here when we could have just gotten a Black Adam trailer, right?
I think that would have been a better way to do. I get the idea of releasing a hype reel and saying, hey, everyone, hold on. I promise you there's more after Batman. But to see Matt Reeves' Batman kind of thrown into the mix, it sort of threw me off a bit. And I know, Justin, you and I talked about this, and you're like, it's a hype reel. It's fine. But, like, they're not in the same universe. So don't confuse your audience into thinking that they might be. There's a lot of casual people out there that might want to enjoy the DCEU, and might want to jump into that and now think that Batman is connected in some way.
I don't know. I feel like
it just felt weird
That's
to
a
kind
good
of
point,
mash
actually.
that all together. I don't know.
But see, when I watched it, and especially with the tag that was attached to it, it was very much that, DC, this is their hype reel. It wasn't necessarily about, telling a connective story. I think they are jumping off the liberties of Spider-Man No Way Home. People know what The Flash is going to be about because of the casting. I think
Right.
they're just showing that they're building their own multiverse, if you will, right? Like they have skin in the game to kind of, to help build out more of this multiverse concept, right? And they're going to do it in their own way.
Well, whatever it is, I'm really hopeful that we can get the same level of feeling of how we might have felt about another trailer that we're going to talk about a little bit later with a DC movie. I mean, I think a lot of people are feeling that with Batman, honestly, with that coming up. But I think after that, it just feels like they're going back to their old ways of how they do these movies, and it's kind of upsetting. And just let Matt Reeves maybe make all of them. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Or you could get James Gunn. He's working on that DC stuff.
That's true. Yeah. Get both of them to herald it. Let them be the Favreau and Filoni of DC. I'm down for that. Holy.
There you go. Okay, well, now we're heading into the animated world with our next trailer, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, directed by Jeff Fowler, starring Ben Schwartz as Sonic, Idris Elba as Knuckles, Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Tails, as the voice of Tails, and Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, and James Marsden as Tom. I believe he was a cop.
Everyone's favorite character.
Yes.
Tom from Sonic. Remember when you were playing the Sonic game, Justin, and you were like, oh, I can't wait to play as Tom.
I loved being Tom because I had no idea what was going on. The synopsis is, after settling in Green Hill, Sonic is eager to prove that he has what it takes to be a true hero. His test comes from Dr. Robotnik's return with a new partner, Knuckles, in search of a mystical emerald that has the power to destroy civilization. Sonic teams up with his own sidekick, Tails, and together they embark on a globe-trotting journey to find the emerald before it falls into the wrong hands. So the trailer, I never saw the first one. I will say that right off the bat.
Okay.
But after seeing the trailer, this looks fun. Looks like stupid fun. Right? Looks
and that's
like,
very, very much the first movie was. I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected.
Oh, so you saw it too? Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to see this just for Jim Carrey's mustache alone.
Yes.
That looks. I was dying at this ridiculous thing waving around on screen.
He's embraced the Robotnik, and that's the best part. And I think this movie, as a whole, might be better than the first one simply because it is embracing the more ridiculous side. They I guess they had to get out of the way the idea of bringing in audiences by saying we've got a human in this too, and now they're just getting away from Tom's character, focusing more on Green Hill, and I think that makes so much more sense because I think there's so much more personality in that world than even our own world. And it was like they brought that into our world. Now we're going into theirs, and I'm stoked. And Idris Elba sounds awesome as Knuckles. Like, it's such a ridiculous thing to say, but I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, I feel like, going off of that point, the first one needs to establish the world. And by the sounds of it, it did that so that they could really just go wild in this sequel by the looks of it and have fun with it. That being said, it does look enjoyable, and we don't have to wait too long for it because apparently it's in theaters April 8th. 2022, so we could find ourselves sitting in the theaters enjoying some Green Hills.
Like Sonic itself, it's got to go fast. You know what I mean? That's how it is. That's how it is.
It's like an 80-minute movie.
That's okay with me. Yeah.
All right, from animated into a dark world that is written and directed by Jordan Peele. Nope. Starring Keke Palmer, Daniel Kaluuya, and Steven Yeun. The synopsis is, the residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery. That is all that this movie gets in terms of a description. It's hitting theaters July 22nd, 2022. Are you guys ready for this sci-fi thriller with some fucked up visuals, man? Like Jordan Peele Like he seems like he's on a quest to answer the question, the truth, is it out there? Huh?
Oh.
Like there is some.
This is the cowboys and aliens that we were promised years ago by Favreau, but this looks much better.
He's gonna love this movie.
Yeah, this looks wild, man. Like the visuals were upon second viewing were more terrifying than
they're
than
very
the first,
spooky.
because of the things that I was noticing, and just even the visual of when he's in the van and he opens the door and you just see this circle above him. Like even just that was incredibly.
I love the way the trailer uses sound and then sometimes the lack of it. And even the way that they bring the title in, it was very like kind of old school horror movie, right? But I just thought like when you hear the reverse horse scream, like ever since watching The Ring, spoilers for The Ring if you haven't seen it, but there's a scene in The Ring where a horse jumps off a boat and gets completely decimated by the boat's motor, and you hear the screams of this horse, and it just brought me right back to that. And honestly, like I'm a big fan of horses. This got me really freaked out, and I think it's gonna have a lasting impression, which all of his movies do. And it's interesting how he leaves a lasting impression not only for the terrifyingness of it, or if that's a word, but also kind of the moral story that he brings along with his movies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people have already deconstructed everything about this trailer to really understand it. I think the wildest theory that's being tweeted out there that I read about from this trailer is the fact that horses are being turned into people, and that's what these aliens are doing because of the reference of a bad miracle. And just the idea of the visual of the sort of hooved hand under the table dripping in blood.
No way, dude.
And just these alien things are bringing something. Hence why there's this sacrifice. There's some really intelligent people out there that have been breaking it down all through YouTube. And there's some interesting theories.
They see the horses as like slaves, and they're trying to like bring them to become the masters of the world.
Well, we're going to have to wait to July 22nd to find out if this theory is true. But what is the commentary that he's going to be making about the fact that horses are being turned into people?
I don't know if that's now you're losing me a bit with that one now. But I do want to call out. I saw somebody tweet the other day, not of planet Earth, and I think that's excellent. I think that's absolutely excellent. Nope. Not of planet Earth, I think, is a really cool way to sort of break that down. If us was United States, then that's what they're going for. So
for sure,
but the visuals, dude, you called it already. Like they just look.
See that little
so
alien
insane
behind the fence? That was creepy too. Like the fact what you're not seeing is what's so scary, right?
Yeah.
Like, you just see this little bobbing head behind the fence. I'm like, oh my god, what is that?
Goodness, I'm stoked.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to be immersed in some fucked up Jordan Peele stuff because it's going to be tons of fun. All right, let's get into some of the big hitters from Super Bowl. First one up, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. This one's coming from Amazon Prime Studio. This stars a variety of people whose names I'm about to butcher. So bear with me. Starring Morfydd Clark, Peter Mullen, Benjamin Walker, Robert Armao, and Nazim Bonadi. I think that's how you say
80%, Justin. That was pretty good. I give you 80% on that.
The synopsis reads as follows. Epic drama set thousands of years before the events of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings follows an ensemble cast of characters, both familiar and new, as they confront the long-feared reemergence of evil to Middle-earth.
Mm-hmm.
This looks epic in scope, eh? Like, just this short 1-minute visual trailer, I was so captivated. It really does show that this thing has a budget. It's got money behind it, for sure.
They got money behind it, especially hearing that they're the first in line to potentially buy the license of the Lord of the Rings. That's what's really intriguing to me, is that they'll be able to continue to do even more with it. Maybe if they do end up with it.
As a huge fan of the movies, but also a little hesitant when it comes to prequels. I think this one will be set far enough beforehand that that sort of usual problem I have with prequels won't exist here. So for that alone, I'm excited to go back to Middle Earth and experience some new stories that will certainly, hopefully, be better than what we got in the Hobbit films.
Yeah, and I think that it's based on this 1 minute treatment. It feels very much that this will build out the world so much more than was already done in those 6 films, and continuing that, as you said, Nate. So it's going to be interesting to see just the scope and where they go with it.
It's going to be really cool, and I think it's interesting because unlike Star Wars, we haven't really gotten, or Marvel, we haven't really gotten a ton of expanded content, right? I mean, Tolkien wrote the Silmarillion and a couple other books and gave a little bit more context to this world and these events. But for the most part, this is going to be kind of fans' first step back into the Lord of the Rings. And to me, I saw some people sort of comparing it to the sequel trilogy, but really I think this is closer to, obviously, the prequel trilogy being a prequel, but just in the sense of, like, as fans, we really haven't gotten to see Lord of the Rings. We haven't gotten to jump back into this world for a long enough amount of time that I think it's going to be huge. And I we see the Kingdom of Numenor at the beginning. That's that statue we see holding the hand out. You guys might remember that from the Fellowship of the Ring. And then this show is really going to be, I think, about the downfall of Numenor. I think that's going to be the big thing that we get at the end of this series, because it does get destroyed. And I think the coolest part about this is that we're going to get main characters from each race of Middle Earth.
Yes.
Very similar to our Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the big call-outs is there's just so much culture.
Yes.
That's so visible in this 1 minute treatment that feels fresh and just kind of taking the property in a new direction, whereas I think we could easily say most of the cast from the original 6 movies was fairly white.
Absolutely. And I think they've got some different characters that kind of emphasize the diversity of what we experience in our world and are bringing it into Middle Earth. But I just wanted to quickly shout out, I mean, we've got Nori Brandyfoot, who is a Harfoot, and Harfoots are the predecessors to hobbits, so there's our hobbit angle. We see Galadriel, who's the blonde character, played by Morfydd Clark, and I think she's going to be really integral to the main narrative of the storyline, and she's going to be our elves. We also get a young Elrond. I don't know if you guys saw Elrond there. Yeah. Robert Aramayo is the guy. He's like bent on one knee. And then we get Halbrand, who's played by Charlie Vickers. And I think he's going to be in some way connected to Isildur, because according to the casting, Maxim Baldry is playing Isildur. So I think that's going to be maybe our look at our human characters. And then for our dwarves, we've got Owain Arthur, who plays Prince Durin IV. And he's living in Khazad-dûm before it gets all wrecked by a Balrog, because apparently the dwarves get really greedy and they dig too deep and they wake up the Balrog, which destroys their entire world. But I think it's so cool that, in the original trilogy, the goal was to destroy the Rings of Power, and this is going to be a race to create them, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Justin, Kevin, if there's one group that I've yet to mention, it's the most exciting thing about getting back into Lord of the Rings. And that's, what wizards are we going to see? Are we going to get a young Gandalf? Are we going to get a young Saruman? Are we going to get a Radagast the Brown or Alatar or Palando the Blue Wizards? Are they going to show up for the first time in live action? It's really cool to see what they can do with this. And like you said, Justin, expanding upon the works, going further than what was already there, so that people that do look into this stuff or have read the narrative source material, they can be excited and stoked. For me, you need to tread a very careful line of feeling like Lord of the Rings, but at the same time, giving me enough Game of Thrones vibes. That's what I know. I'm a big. It sounds like a broken record because I was like, Boba Fett needs to be more like Game of Thrones, but I do think that this series has the ability to kind of be at that level, right? For sure.
I don't know though if it will lean that far into a Game of Thrones, but I think that to the layer of politics that apply, I totally agree with you. I think that there's a layer there that can be explored within this Tolkien world about the politics that kind of dictate, right? Because we were seeing that in those other 6 movies in various ways.
I just want them to make me hate a character and love that character by the end of the series. That's all I want. That's all I want from my sci-fi fantasy.
No, you'll still want more. You'll still want more.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, there were times where I was a little nervous about the visual aesthetic, but I think it did enough to sell me that, yeah, they've really put a hell of a lot of money into this, and this will not be, a Wheel of Time equivalent, which lost me by about 3 episodes just because it came off a little corny.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, that one did not play well. Well, this one's a little bit later in the year, so it's dropping on Amazon Prime September 2nd, 2022. So we got some time to wait. But
cool.
Before that, we got Moon Knight, our next trailer, coming from Marvel Studios, Disney Plus series. We've talked about this in great lengths. This is a sort of short tease to our heavy hitter, our real heavy hitter for our finale here. But I wanted to take a second and call this out. It's premiering March 30th on Disney Plus, as already mentioned. But what do you guys think of the new visuals? Some of the action stuff that we got. I was digging those action scenes and kind of coupling this with news that came out earlier this week that Kevin Feige says that they're not holding back in this series. It's got a 14A rating on it, so it's going to lean pretty violent. And some of these shots, while they obviously weren't super violent, it just showed a little bit more of that.
Yeah, it does really, really give off a far more mature vibe than a lot of the things that we're used to getting in the MCU. It's crazy that this might not be the trippiest, most bonkers trailer that we'll talk about involving Marvel somehow. Yeah. But no, it looks like they're pushing the envelope with this one. And that's nice to see. When you're this far into it, you need to come in with fresh sort of takes and new different types of stories. And that certainly does seem to be what we're getting.
But speaking of fresh takes, I mean, this is how you do a 30-second spot, right?
Exactly.
You show a little bit more. You don't give away everything, right? And I think, we've seen that in the past, but I think this, we get a little bit more of his costume. We get to see the cool jump he does where his cape turns into makes a crescent.
Oh man, that
shape.
Cape shot was so cool. I was like, dope.
So good. And then I think the only thing that kind of I got from this trailer, I think Ethan Hawke's character is going to be responsible for him getting the Moon Knight powers. I think I feel like Ethan Hawke is going to be someone who praises Khonshu, and that's going to be where that connection. I could be completely off on that, but you see two of them, and then you see a big purple thing come from like a mountain or something, and I'm like, that's got to be
great call out though. You mentioned purple because we've seen that magic been used before from Agatha, and I'm not saying that's her, but I'm saying that power set could potentially come across. So
yeah, because he is super culty and sort of interesting.
Interesting, right? Okay. So we might see some layers and nuances. But you're right. You guys are right. This was very reserved, very tempered. It gave us what we wanted, and stayed 30 seconds because they had a heavy hitter. Marvel Studios had a heavy hitter coming out of the gate, dropping a 2.5-minute trailer for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, hitting theaters May 6th, 2022. This is, of course, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, Elizabeth Olsen, Rachel McAdams, Benedict Wong, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Xochitl Gomez, and apparently Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier.
What? Come on!
This was the moment in the trailer where I was like, I literally did that when I heard his voice. I couldn't breathe. I was like stood up from my couch. I was like, oh my God. And to think that they gave us this, what aren't they showing is the question. This isn't even the tip of the iceberg, I think, of what we will potentially see come out of this movie.
I mean, I hope this is all we see. I don't want another 2-minute trailer where they, I want this to be very much like Spider-Man, where they've shown us a little bit now. They've addressed some rumors that have been circling for a little while, but that's all we get until we're actually in a theater watching this.
For sure.
It's such a damn good trailer, and Marvel had to have known while they were making No Way Home that fans would react the way they would, and that having this movie released so closely to No Way Home, they had to bring a really hard second punch in this 1-2 punch of multiverse stories, right?
It's clear that they knew. They knew.
Absolutely.
This is why they put these movies back to back.
Which is great. I'm super stoked that, hopefully it's not going anywhere from that release date, but, it's just like we get what if coming to life, right? We're seeing the buildings melting into black goo, just like in the Doctor Strange episode of What If. And then, you know, Wanda and Steven having that discussion in the orchard. Like, I love the idea, just like with Moon Knight, how I feel like we're going to, as an audience, be seeing one thing, but not realizing we're actually watching a completely different moment, because he's in that sort of red scene with her, and he's wearing the same outfit. So, like, is the orchard in her head? Is that what it meant by going into her eyeball at the end of the trailer? Like, there's just so much to dive into with this, and I don't care if we go for another hour on this podcast, honestly. Let's just talk about it.
Yeah, this trailer gave us so much, and there was also, like, it was funny because what they ran on TV was, like, a trailer to go watch the full trailer online. So in that, they had different sets of visuals. We saw the zombified Wanda. We saw a zombified Doctor Strange. We did see a little bit, I think, of it towards the end, but this was like literally him turning into a zombie in that like short little trailer that was on TV. And you're absolutely right. There's just more of What If finding its way into the real world. And there's even a moment in the trailer where they're shattering through the glass, and like these eagle-eye fans are already noticing like they're coming from an animated world into
which
like
looks
this
like
dinosaur
What If?
world. Yeah, like into a dinosaur world. And that dinosaur world, where's that? Is that the Savage Land? Like, there's just so much that the trailer gives you that gives you so many questions beyond the reveal of Patrick Stewart showing up.
Before we get into all of that, though, I just really want to quickly mention, because you mentioned What If, we mentioned Wanda, seeing the two Wandas in the Westview home. Obviously, that's going to be an alternate version of that house, because the one we know in our universe is destroyed. But it's interesting to see the other Wanda, the scar on her forehead, and we see her in another scene where it's like really blood dripping down. Look at the character model for the zombie Scarlet Witch in What If.
Yeah.
And there's a very clear scar on her head, and you could sort of chalk that up to like she's a zombie. But no, it's like in the exact same position and shape. And you just have to wonder if there's something connected there. And obviously there is, because in the TV spot we did get, as you said, that zombie Wanda. But then, dude, even in the poster, Peggy Carter's shield is hidden in there. Like, What If is coming to life. I'm so stoked.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the introduction of Patrick Stewart's character in this trailer, you know, they're obviously hinting at the Illuminati. And for those who might not know, the Illuminati is made up of 6 core characters that sort of serve as a higher power that kind of make decisions. I think in the comics they were known for making the decision to send Hulk off-world because he was a danger to Earth. So given that this is a multiverse movie, I feel like what we're seeing, and Darcy sort of backed this theory up, this quite possibly might be the Illuminati, but like a multiversal committee. So there's a lot of things up in the air about who's on the Illuminati, because, you know, from the comics, there is Reed Richards, who's one of the founding members, and Tony Stark. So a lot of rumors circulating about, you know, us getting a variant version of Reed Richards, and maybe getting a variant version of Tony Stark, played by Tom Cruise, which is wild. But, you know, these Eagle fans online already breaking everything down. Like, honestly, it's crazy. They're making me question, you know, the glowing person that Wanda is fighting. You know, they're zooming in, they're looking at all the details. It could be Iron Man superior, but I don't know. It's just, I'm too stoked for this movie.
Well, and then who's the flaming character?
Well, I think that
Is
Justin,
that who you're talking about?
I think he's saying it's.
Okay.
I don't know. I liked your first theory first, Justin. Justin was like, "Oh, it's Maria Rambeau or Monica Rambeau," Monica Rambeau would make so much more sense.
She would make
fighting
sense.
Wanda in Westview.
Yeah,
like that's.
Well,
that
I don't
to
think
me
that's
makes-
Westview either. I think that shot when we're flying in to Wanda's eye, I think that's a visual that we're going to see when Charles Xavier tries to go inside of her mind.
Dude.
Because I think she ends up at this facility that they're holding Strange at to get them back, because I think America Chavez is going to be with them. Anyways, we know that there's been a lot of rumors circulating around, you know, Fox characters finding their way over into the MCU, and potentially Wanda having a bout with one of those X-Men characters. And I think Xavier's going to be that character. I think that pretty much confirms that.
I mean, if we're going off talking about maybe some other characters, like, I don't know, man. Obviously, yeah, Reed Richards would be really cool. I do think Baron Mordo is actually going to be on that Illuminati council. He's going to be, and he's, he's kind of like wanting to give Steven a warning ahead of time because he's his friend. He's like, I warned you a million times about this, that it was going to happen. It was, the bill was going to come due. But I do think that, I just think it would be absolutely nuts if we hear the line, should we tell him the truth? And then followed up by, what do you think, Eric? And then frickin' Magneto is sitting right there. I don't know. I think it would be, maybe that's too much. But what I really also would think would be really cool, like, if they are, if he is ever in a jail cell, if we do get Steven in sort of this Illuminati HQ jail cell, how sick would it be if we just hear the voice of Jeremy Wright just sitting next to him and be like, yeah, it's a rough life, bud. And it's just the Watcher, the Watcher of all people is not powerful enough to go up against these Illuminati. And I'm super stoked for it. I think I want to give myself a very tiny pat on the back because I think a lot of people were expecting this after the end of WandaVision, but I kind of was like, yeah, Wanda's going to be our villain. And I think I'm really right after looking at this trailer. And I think she steals America Chavez from her universe because we know that America Chavez is from another universe. She's going to use her powers to like open other multiverses and search to get her kids, right? Yeah. And she's going to want to get Vision back. She's going to want to get her two boys back. It's nuts. Like they can literally just do anything with this movie and everyone's going to be okay with it because it's just going to be so exciting.
I think she is going to be the villain, and I think the trailer definitely does set that up pretty well. But who knows? The Illuminati could be the villains too.
I've said in the past that like Tom Cruise as Iron Man, I think I was a little worried about it because I do want my last image to be Robert Downey Jr. Snapping his fingers. Like, that's Iron Man to me, and that should always be Iron Man. And I just feel like it could kind of discredit his character a bit. But just like how I think they managed to get Patrick Stewart back on board by saying, no, it's an alternate universe character version of Professor X. It's not the one who died in Wolverine. It's a different one. That to me sort of quells my fears a little bit more. And the fact that we've got the Ultron bots, sort of coming through, it's like, yeah, did this superior Iron Man, did he finally crack he was the one that cracked the code on Ultron and actually made
Reed Richards did, if it's a variant.
Right.
Like a lot of people are saying that, John Krasinski could be the variant of Reed Richards that we see here as part of the Illuminati. And, that's just that variant. We'll get another MCU version, but this is a variant of Reed Richards that we just haven't met yet, which is interesting if they go that route with trying to, do a bit of fan service there. But it's all on the table now. Like, I think the funny thing is that it's just all on the table, again, after everything that was Spider-Man No Way Home.
You'd figured that was going to be the peak. That was going to be their last big moment. And they were like, no, we're going to start off with our very next movie and it's going to blow your mind. Like, we're just getting started.
Yeah, no. And you said it best in another episode. Like, to have another film-like event follow what was already a film event, it's like the sequel to that, right? It very much is. And it's going to continue with that, I feel like, that theme of fan service payoffs and just bringing everything into the fold, right? Like bringing everything in. So I think this is what sets the next phase up. This is literally just saying we are going to bring mutants in. This is how it happens. Because there's a very specific storyline in the comics where Wanda is the destruction of all mutants, and she'll be the birth
in this.
Of them.
She'll be the She'll be the birth of them. She'll be the one to create them and create in a way. Maybe they've given us the idea of what did they call it? An infinite point in time or something like that, right? So maybe she learns how to create those, and she's saying, no, I'm making this decision. You can't change it forever. And that's how my kids are going to become alive. And maybe we lose Wanda. I don't know. Justin, did I mention this movie as my top anticipated movie of 2022? Did I tell you this yet? Oh my gosh.
But yeah, we won't have to wait too long. May 6th, 2022 in theaters. It looks like everything is kind of getting back to a sense of normality. So it feels like that is very possible. But yeah, that was the trailer that I feel like broke the internet last night. while the Super Bowl was going on. And I was one of those people that you described earlier, Nate. Could care very little about the game. I cared a lot about these trailers and commercials and all of this promo stuff. And guess what, guys? We got through it all. And if you weren't tired of listening to us talk about things, you're going to listen to us a little bit more here. Before we wrap things up, I thought we could spend a quick second here and share a little whatcha for our listeners. Something, you've enjoyed this past week that you've watched, played, read, listened to, just basically enjoyed. Something that you'd love our listeners to check out. Nate, let's start with you.
I'm going to go with a movie that I actually watched just tonight, actually, before we did our recording. I watched Belfast. Obviously, the Oscars, as we've mentioned, are fast approaching.
Nice.
And I'm wanting to get through my list of nominees and see these movies, whether they are actually great or if they're just touted as great. And I've heard some ideas and sort of skepticism that like there weren't enough movies for the Oscars to pick from, which is why some of them got nominated for Best Picture or some of the nominees got nominated. But I got to say, Belfast is incredible. It's absolutely. I got so many vibes of Jojo Rabbit. If you enjoy Jojo Rabbit, you will enjoy Belfast. It's. I won't say that the comedy is there as much. It is a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so heartfelt and just like the the grandparents in this one of the grandmother played by the grandmother played by Dame Judi Dench, as well as the grandfather. I'm gonna butcher his name, but it's Syrian Hinds. Both of them up for Best Supporting, and right now I'm at a place where I really believe it because I was hearing my own grandparents who are from Ireland, like in them. I was watching with my mom, and my mom and aunt actually experienced what they're going through in the movie. Right. In Belfast. They were in for the summer of '69. They were actually in Belfast visiting family.
Wow.
Across Ireland, and it was just a really fascinating way to watch the movie because she was recognizing literally places and things and grocery stores and things like that from the movie and recanting her experiences with it. So I really will just say if you kind of look at the movie and you sort of say like, I know there's some people that kind of don't vibe with like black and white as much. The way they use the black and white, and when they do use a sparse amount of color, for the way that they narratively show you, the main character's name is Buddy, the little kid, show him escaping his world through that color, through the the movies and plays that he watches. It's just absolutely gorgeously shot and well acted, and I can't say enough good things about it. And I'm stoked to talk about it when we get to Oscar predictions.
Nice. That was one that was towards the top of my list for the Oscar watch that will be the next month or so of our lives. But so I'm glad to hear that it held up lived up to the reputation.
Yeah, man.
It just really speaks to community, heritage, and to your point, the sort of docu-style feel going black and white, just accentuates the sort of real life aesthetic of the story and try to really ground it. So yeah, it is a movie that we will talk in further detail about when we get to the Oscars. Kev, how about yourself? What you get up to this week?
You know what? I didn't start anything new or check out any new movies. Just sort of finished up or continued watching some shows I'd already been watching. So wrapped up the latest season of Letterkenny. Excited for the spin-off series Shoresy, which is coming out at some point soon. That'll fill the void until a newer season of Letterkenny comes out. Plugging along with Peacemaker. Had about 3 or 4 episodes to sort of catch up on that one. So that's been, I've been enjoying that. I thought it was a lot of fun. They've done some really interesting things with the story, and it's gone places I certainly wasn't expecting it to go.
And John Cena, his performance in that last episode, obviously we're not going to spoil anything, but he is getting better.
Yeah. And
originally
and the whole cast.
I think a lot of people sort of passed off John Cena as like, he's a comedian. Like, well, I don't know if he'll be able to fully pull it off. I've been saying he's
better than The Rock for a couple years now.
Sure, better than The Rock, sure. But like, I don't know, man. He just gave such a phenomenal performance that like, I was like, how is this show about Peacemaker getting to me like this?
I get what you're saying though, Nate. He has this sort of like, silly guy nature to his characters that he seems to always imply. And that's very prevalent in his character of Peacemaker. But to see the emotional range that he seems to be getting into with this character.
He's killing it.
It's outstanding. So, it's definitely been the hook for me as well as the entire cast. Jennifer Holland is really shaping up to be an absolute delight of a character. I also think, though, again, we'll talk about it later, but there might be missing some marks on some characters, but I'm hoping that the reason why is because they're inevitably leading towards what will be a season 2, where maybe that character becomes more important.
Sure.
And I will say, I won't spend too much time on it because you guys talked about it quite a bit last week, but I took the plunge and we watched the first season of Dave. And
Yes!
I really, really enjoyed it. So
Let's go!
Go and check that one out, guys, because it's so now I think all three of us have given our endorsement here. So
Yeah, man. 3 geeks approved.
You get into milking? Any milking?
oh, we
Oh,
definitely
guys, come on.
experienced the milking. Yes.
Awesome. For myself, went a little bit odd with my watcha. I actually I hit up a game thanks to a Twitch streamer I know, Nate Plays Games.
Oh,
you
who's
might have heard
that?
of him.
Oh.
Yeah, he was on his stream playing this game, Ollie Ollie World, on Nintendo Switch, and it has literally consumed my life. I absolutely love this game. I fell in love with it from a design look sort of feel and the animation style. Again, I'm very tuned into some of the visual that really jumps out at me and makes me want to play these games. The game's fun. It's easy-ish, but it's a side-scrolling skate game. It's so beautiful. The color palette, the world that it builds with its graphics and its art style, it's immersive for what it is. It's really a lots of fun, and the personalization. I love being able to personalize my character and stuff like that. So
Yeah, man.
Your
I think
character
it's
looks
fun.
just like you. It's hilarious.
And the
He looks
music,
just like
the music
just
too,
like
man. The music
Yeah.
is a vibe, and
Slaps.
I love it. Like it's just like contemporary skate music. It's like that sometimes lo-fi but hip hop, and then it has such range. So much fun. If you have a Switch, I think it's on various systems, right, Nate?
It's on Switch, it's on Xbox, it's on PlayStation.
Oh, so you can play it
it's
on-
Windows. You can play it
Yeah.
on pretty much everything. But
yeah. So
yeah.
if you got any system, play it because it's tons of fun.
Yeah, and it looks a lot of vibes of Adventure Time,
Yes.
right? And if
Thank
you're
you.
into
Yes.
animation, and the characters, honestly, are just as endearing
Yeah.
as the characters in Adventure Time, and you fall in love with each individual one has their very specific ways about talking and doing things. It's such a delightful game.
Well, we did the Cuphead show, and we talked about that, a game going into episodic series. I could see something like that from this.
100%.
It would be,
100%.
and it would be a lot of fun. So I think that they could do something like that, and it could really have some legs to kind of build out the world a little bit more.
And I don't want to go too long on this, but I'll quickly say, if you have played the Ollie Ollie games in the past, if you had a Vita, which is kind of where they sort of premiered and then went on to the consoles, Ollie Ollie 1 and Ollie Ollie 2 are great, phenomenal games that still deserve to be checked out, but they are nowhere near as accessible as this game.
Yeah.
Justin, you said it was challenging, and it can get very challenging.
Yeah, it's just
but
doing
it's
tricks. Yeah.
But it's not punishing, though.
No,
it doesn't
no.
punish you. Where the old games you would be knocked out if you make a slight wrong landing. This one you can slap down on the stairs and you'll still be okay.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And what I like about it too is that because it is a course and you have to, try to nail certain sort of tricks and, points and so on and so forth, it's just ammo for you to go back and try doing it better each time. And that's what I like about it. I can still complete it, but I can still go back and try to beat my own score. So tons of fun. Definitely check it out. All right, guys, that is it for This Week in Geek. Thanks for tuning in wherever you listen to podcasts. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and leave us a glowing review. We always appreciate the love. And you can always reach out to us, ask us any questions about the news, trailers shared today, or anything that we cover in general. To do so, well, you can reach out to us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. But if that feels like you're being sucked into a big dark cloud, Well, you can
Oh, no.
reach out to us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT or on Instagram at WeAreGeekcentric. Keep in mind, we also have a ton of other episodes covering a variety of other content. New content always coming out, such as our latest review, as mentioned, for the animated Netflix series For the Cuphead Show. Plus, we have our now concluded watch club for the Book of Boba Fett, with all episodes out now for you to listen to. And also, while some think the Oscars aren't worth it, we think it totally is, which is why later down the road we will have our annual Oscar coverage episode where we predict who will win, and we will follow up with an episode seeing who was right, who got all that. Plus, we have a ton of reviews on the way, with Uncharted coming out at the end of this week, Batman towards the end of the month. Maybe we do something with Peacemaker. I don't know. We gotta talk. But until then, guys, Kev, Nate, thanks for joining me for this supersized Super Bowl episode of This Week in Geek. And as we say,
Love ya.
Guys, with mandates dropping and restrictions being lowered, please, please, please get home safe.
peace.